Jeff, you've seen Ottawa now, I think it's 3 times in the last 2 weeks. In the first 2, obviously not going in your favor. What do you want to be different? What has to be different to get the win this time?
I think in both, the first 2 cases, I didn't think we played great, but certainly we could have won either game. We were in position, obviously, going to the third period. The first one and the second one, we had plenty of chances to win the hockey game. I think we got to make sure that I like our game better today than I did going into those games. I think we've shown much better sacrifice, much better commitment to winning in the last 3 games. Even the last one, losing in overtime, I thought the commitment to winning was much better. And so that's the bottom. That's the start. Like, if you don't do that, you're not going to win. They have a really good stretch game where they can get behind you. And so we have to make sure we're not giving up rush chances against. We have to eliminate that. And I would also say I think their power play is really starting to feel it. So we got to stay out of the box.
And then tonight is Tigers night. And I don't know how much you watch baseball. It's probably not much while you're still in season, but it's pretty cool to watch the Tigers up and coming, the Red Wings up and coming, and you can even throw the Pistons in there. When you look at all the Detroit sports teams, how cool is that for you?
I've talked about this a little bit. I think it's got the potential to be great. Ultimately, each organization has to continue to do lots of work, and we all have lots of work ahead of us. But I do think there's, each organization can kind of point to, a direction that we all think we're headed, and it would be cool if ultimately the 4 major sports teams all had great success at the same time, and I think what's clear in those types of situations is it does take time. This is what happens, and I think the organizations have done a good job of trying to do it the right way, and hopefully we can all have success at the same time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Max Boltman.
What have you liked about the Seider, Zadina, Verana grouping so far to keep it together?
Well, I like the fact, number one, I think it starts with the individual players and playing really good hockey. I think that's where any line has success, and there's certainly, chemistry and things like that. But I would start with the fact that I think over the last number of games, the responsibility of Zadina and Verana has been good. I think their work ethic's been real good. I think Seider is a guy who has an ability to make plays with skilled players, but yet is real smart defensively. That's why he was spent time playing with a guy like Patrick Kane last year, because he has the ability to play with those guys because he's got enough skill, but yet he's real accountable. And I think, he's done a good job of that. So it's made for another dangerous line on our team. And if they play to the accountability that they've played the last few games, then it also, now you can put them out in lots of situations. I didn't hide them in Winnipeg, and they did a really good job. And so, I think it can be a real dynamic line. Obviously, Verana can score, Zadina can score, and Seider can make plays.
Early in the year, you often like to kind of have some muscle on Seider's wing. I know it was usually Fabulous, but those guys are way bigger than Fabulous. What's allowed them to kind of get by without none of the guys that are bruisers?
Yeah, no, I think you'd love to have like kind of a net presence guy, but sometimes it's not the way it necessarily. Now, actually, Suits does go to the net. He is a good net presence guy. The one thing I would say is Jacob Verana's got an individual skill set that he can go against anybody and create. And there's not lots of guys like that in the league. He's explosive, he's strong, and he can really shoot it in tight areas. So then, even if, he doesn't need to create tons of space, and it kind of allows that line to have success because of it.
Thanks.
Carly Johnson.
Mitchell Stevens returned into the lineup, getting the assist. What was it like seeing him out there on the ice with the team?
Well, good for, I know the amount of work that goes into it, and I know the mental strain that goes into it, and I think he's done a good job of working through it, and he worked his tail off. So I was real happy that he's getting a chance to play. You'd hate to go through the year and not get a chance to get back in there, and almost becomes a lost year. And these years click by quick, and you want to take advantage of every second that you're in this league. And so I was real happy for Mitchell to be able to do that. And he also gives us, more depth. When you have a line with Gagne, Stevens, and Ernie, those are good players, and it gives you, and they can go out and play against anybody, and you have confidence to put them out there. And so it gives you another good line.
Couple players having game streaks, one of them being Sam Gagne. What's it like seeing a vet like that play hot?
Yeah, you know what, I would just say, I just think Sam's game's been real solid all year, and you know, the streaks are nice for sure, and they certainly feel good about themselves when they're producing, and production matters for certain. But I also would say I just think Sam's done a good job all season long. He's a great pro, and certainly happy for guys that do it the right way consistently to have success.
Thank you.
Trevor Thompson.
Blash, you talk about sacrifice, commitment to winning, and there's still a lot of work yet to be done. So with 10 games left, what are the team goals that you've outlined for the guys that you'll strive for the rest of the way?
You know, we've honestly taken it on a game by game basis, and really, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's important to be great every day. You know, that's an approach that I've always had with any team I've coached. You know, we've done things in segments, we've done certain things, but really it's about showing up and getting better every single day and making the most of every single day. And that's been something that we've really tried to focus on here. You know, I think the commitment to winning, the sacrifice that it takes, I think we've been refocused on that, and we've done a good job, and expect it to continue through the rest of the season.
And with only 10 games left, when you can see the finish line, how much does that help with that being refocused, or maybe giving guys a burst of energy down the stretch, knowing the finish line is that close?
Hard for me to say. That's not the way I look at things at all. You know, we were going to take advantage of today, and we don't try to get too far ahead of ourselves or anything like that. Like, we want to make sure we take advantage of today, and we want to make sure that our attention to detail is great today, and that our effort is maximized today. So, you know, I don't know if other guys would think differently. You know, I listen again, when you get a chance to play in this league, you got to maximize every single day, and you definitely don't want to wish any of those days away, because they'll be gone before you know it, and you'll wish you were back in that spot. So I don't look at it that way at all. I look at it really to try to seize today.
Thanks, Blash.
Yep.
Bob Duff.
And Jeff, there was a realistic chance that DeKeyser might not play again when he was put on waivers and then on IR. What have you thought of his play since he's come back?
First off, I echo what you said. There was the definite, you know, realistic chance. You know, he's worked very hard to try to maintain his back, but it's not easy, and certainly there's some permanent damage that was done, and so I only say that so people understand, you know, what he's going through to try to you know, play every single day, and I think he's done a good job. But what Danny is smart. He knows where to stand. He's got the experience. You know, I think on defense especially, experience matters, going through the league and knowing when to be in the right spots, knowing when to make a play, knowing when to live another day. The other thing Danny does a real good job of generally is he erases others' mistakes, and whether it's on a 2-on-1, finding a way to get stick on puck and disrupting the play, and then you don't really think about those mistakes as much because they didn't cost you, and so he does a real good job in those areas. So I've been real pleased with Danny's play, and like I said, he's worked extremely hard to put himself in position where he can help this team down the stretch.
He's one of a number of guys who paired with Seider this season. Often with rookies, defensemen, they get one veteran guy and kind of stick with them. Even Nick Lidstrom, his whole first year, he played with Brad McCrimmon. Does it speak even more to Seider's excellence that he's been able to adjust as a rookie to having a number of different partners?
Well, Seider's a real good player, and, you know, he's done a real good job this year. I would say that any of the guys, that one thing we've been fortunate with is that, you know, we've been able to pair him with different players that all have real good attributes as veterans. And for the most part, he's played with a veteran, you know, even a guy like Jordan Osley, who's been around the league now a bit. So he's played with guys with experience, Mark Stahl, Danny DeKeyser, Nick Leddy, Jordan Osley. They've all got experience. So, you know, I think it still allows, no matter if it's the same person or a different person, sides to be with somebody who's, you know, been around and can help, and the reality of those sides doesn't need much help. Sides is done a real good job with his game, and he's had a big impact on a night-to-night basis, and the stuff that you know, he needs to continue to get better at. we've done through coaching, and I also think, that the players that he's played with have helped him with that.
Thanks.
Last question, Ted Colvin.
Yeah, this kind of parlays a little bit what Trevor was talking about 10 games in 17 days too, or 19 days. I think it was 17 or 19. I know you always talk about there's a delicate, line there between rest and having your energy for games. It's going to be a test, I would think, in that regard.
100%. We've got lots of games against some highly explosive teams. We're going to have great energy. So 100% there's going to be a test there, and 100% we're going to have to make sure that we have that balance. If our structure isn't good, then we're not gonna have enough success, and if our energy isn't good, we're not gonna have enough success. So we're gonna have to ride that balance. But we like a lot of teams in the league. Certainly have a lot of tests in front of us, and every team goes through different stretches, and this will be a really kind of a whirlwind stretch.
Is it a little easier in a way, Jeff, when you got that many games and maybe probably aren't going to practice as much and guys can concentrate on just the games, or what?
Yeah, well, I think, ultimately, if, players, when they get to this point of the year, they'd rather play than practice. That's the reality. Whether that's right or wrong is up for debate, but that's what, 99.9% of the players would rather do. So I think, the games are what they certainly get up for and what they get excited about. And so hopefully that part helps. Now, there's always you'd like to have the perfect balance in your schedule where you get a little of both. And the reality is you're not going to all the time. And this is definitely a stretch where we're not going to as much as we'd like.
The last one, and just another segue to all that. I mean, it's not just you guys, everybody. I guess I've seen, a lot of playoff teams and non-playoff teams have this type of schedule here down the stretch this season. Is that does it leave you kind of scratching your head a little bit? It's like, man, this is a difficult. I mean, you're taxing players here, I guess, a little bit.
There was some unique challenges this year that we faced in the league. One, just we were setting aside a break for the Olympics. That ultimately didn't happen too. We had a number of COVID cancellations, and that just made everybody's schedule a little bit different, and it presented real, I would say, even unique challenges within the NHL. I think handling the NHL schedule is always unique and different than any other league, and I think this year's been that much more because of the challenges that we faced. And we had stretches where we didn't play at all and practiced a bunch, and then stretches where it's been like this, where it's been a bit of a whirlwind. But every team's faced it, and ultimately you got to find ways to maximize those challenges.
Good stuff. Thanks for this, Jeff.
Yep.
All right, those are all the questions we had this morning for Coach Blashill. Thanks everyone for joining us.